Greetings YouTube, Skull Incarnate bringing you all the latest indie gaming goodness. Welcome back as we take a look at another indie game. This time we're looking at a title I've been itching to get my hands on, Morbid the 7 Acolytes for the PlayStation 4. Morbid is a retro RPG which pays homage to the Legend of Zelda series, alongside some influence from the Dark Souls games. Morbid was created by Merge Games, a developer known for their more family-friendly titles, such as the excellent RPG Sparklite. I reviewed this in a previous video. They've chosen a drastically different direction with this game, by creating a dark gothic world, which takes inspiration from the work of H.P. Lovecraft, along with some art direction I'm sure that Giger would approve of. The dark twisted world to explore, and a difficulty to satisfy even my most masochistic taste, made this game a natural choice for me to try. But a look at the Steam review page shows this wasn't a well-received title, with complaints of balance issues and poor controls. However, I pressed on to see if Morbid was a game that can be compared to the many other Souls-like titles we've been seeing in the last few years. The story of Morbid unsurprisingly follows inspiration of the Dark Souls series, with the player given very little detail at the beginning of the game. Most of the game's story and lore is found either from books you uncover in your adventures, or from discussions with NPCs and even your defeated foes. The player wakes up on the coast of the land of Solya, which is currently under the iron rule of the 7 Acolytes, abominations that are possessed by dark gods known as the Gahar. The Gahar have twisted the inhabitants of Solya into monsters and hunt the last remaining humans. You are an initiate of the Knights of Dibrom, a holy order that has vowed to cleanse Solya of the Gahar's influence. Unfortunately, your ship was washed ashore, with you as the last survivor. You have to explore Solya, hunting down the 7 Acolytes, and destroying them to return peace to the world. The core story is simplistic, but what intrigued me was the lore behind the game. That's surprisingly deep, and found in books, alongside every item in the game. These can be inspected, giving you more information about their history and use. It's a fantastic incentive to explore, examining every item and every journal, and hunting down the last remaining NPCs to find out more about the world. This is definitely the strongest aspect of the game, weaving a surprisingly deep story for those people who are willing to go looking. The gameplay of Morbid places a heavy emphasis on combat, with the player battling through several environments in their hunt for the Acolytes. While you're initially weak, taking only a few hits to fall, you're also surprisingly mobile, having the ability to dash and roll to avoid attacks and the ability to block or parry for more skilled players. While parry can stun enemies and open them up for a counter-attack, most enemies attack so fast that I found parry to be almost useless, due to it only stunning enemies for a fraction of a second. Overall, I did find the controls to be responsive, but the slow walking and running speed of the player in comparison to dodging was a constant frustration. One of the most rewarding aspects of Souls games is battling enemies and learning more about their patterns with every defeat, eventually overcoming them by understanding their attacks and exploiting their weaknesses. The enemies in Morbid do have attack patterns, but they're very simplistic, and enemies can all be defeated in a similar way by using heavy attacks and rolling away from damage. There's a limited range of enemies in the game, and you'll be fighting them many times. There's elite versions of the enemies, but apart from having higher health and doing more damage, they're identical to their weaker counterpart. The game also implements a sanity system, with certain enemies able to drain your sanity with an attack. A player with low sanity will be attacked by phantom enemies in addition to the regular ones, but they do far more damage, so this adds a risk-reward element to the game. One of the nice touches in the game is the wide variety of equipment to master, including melee weapons, from mundane swords and spears to more magical weapons like cursed swords and hammers that fire spikes at your enemies. Many of these can be liberated from your foes or found in secret areas. You can also find projectile weapons ranging from primitive crossbows to more modern rifles and automatic weapons. These weapons have their own distinct feel, and you'll soon find something that suits your playstyle. All weapons are socketed similar to Diablo, and can be upgraded with relics, magical artifacts that harness the dark power of the Gahars. These grant a number of properties like elemental damage, lifesteal, and increased attack speed, and you'll want to use these as often as you can. While I certainly enjoyed the range of destructive toys, some weapons are clearly superior. For example, I found a unique scimitar upon defeating one of the first Acolytes, Lorn the Blind. When socketed with runes enhancing its attack speed, I found it to be one of the deadliest weapons in the game, taking me right through to the end of the game. The issue is compounded by the fact that there's no way to store weapons you find, giving you little incentive to experiment with the different weapons. I barely used ranged weapons at all, until the second half of the game, as I found ammunition to be a little bit scarce. I'm not sure if this was done to preserve the balance of the game, but it was a shame I wasn't able to use some of the guns until the latter half of the game. Now, any self-respecting Dark Souls player knows one of the core aspects of the game is leveling both your skills and also your characters. Fighting your way through the environment, battling and often losing against your enemies, eventually learning their attack patterns and weaknesses after many defeats. You collect items and experience from your fallen foes, and level your player to grant access to better weapons and skills. Morbid allows a player to earn skill points used to upgrade their character in a similar way, by locating holy statues, which unlock blessings. These are permanent benefits, which can be upgraded. You can equip initially 2 blessings, and have up to 7 at the end of the game. Some of these, such as the health blessing, can almost triple your health, making them something you want to strive for first. You can stockpile items that heal your character, or provide buffs like elemental damage. While these items are very powerful in battle, I found they affect the balance of the game, particularly in the boss battles, as you can carry many healing items, and the different healing effects stack as well. The bosses in Morbid have some of the most inventive visual design I've ever seen. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for their variety of attacks or multiple phases, as their attack patterns are a little simplistic. There are also some extremely unbalanced boss fights where you are bombarded with enemy attacks, area attacks, enemy swarms and everything else you could think of. Swamp Acolyte boss, I'm looking at you. So do I recommend Morbid? I feel conflicted because despite the issues, I absolutely loved the atmosphere of the game. The environments range from a fishing town complete with monstrous fish, straight out of a Lovecraft novel, to forests full of tentacled horrors, decaying towns and castles full of corrupted knights, and boars covered in spikes. The enemy design was well done, with each foe matching the environment and having a satisfying blood-drenched death animation. I just wish there was a wider range of enemies. But some of the more interesting moments in the game included meeting a mother who attempted to beat me with the dead body of her child, and an undead fisherman that tore his way out of the stomach of a live whale. How this game made it through the censors is a complete mystery to me, but I'm certainly glad it did. The problem is that the game's mechanics are a little simplistic, and some of the complaints listed on Steam do have merit, particularly around the game's balance. In short, this game is a horror-themed RPG with an interesting story, but it falls short of what I would call a Souls-like game. So I'd recommend picking this up only if you're not looking for a Dark Souls-like game and are happy with a more simplistic RPG with more than a few rough edges. Or if, like myself, you're a fan of Merge's previous games. The developer is actively working on the game, and from the feedback I see on Steam, they are making some wins. And if they do get back to me about some of my suggestions, you guys will be the first to know. And that was it for my review of Morbid the 7 Acolytes. As always, I hope you enjoyed watching the review, and I'd love to hear from anyone who's also played the game. Did you finish it, and what did you think of it? Are you a Dark Souls fan like myself, and would you like to see me cover more games like this? If you enjoyed the review, please consider leaving me a like and a comment, as it does greatly help the channel. I hope you join me next time when we look at some more indie games. Until then, Skill Incarnate, out.